Hello and welcome to episode 220 of the Talking Wednesday podcast. We'd settled in for the night. We thought we'd do this podcast on Wednesday after the Football Heaven video interview with the potential consortium. However, that's got leaked, so we've pushed it forward. We were sitting on our hands a little bit, not doing a podcast talking about obviously the drama that's at the club at the minute with the unpaid wages. So we're going to get into all of that today. But before we do that, I'm going to dare to ask, how are you, Jake?
I'm tired. It has been a very long June already, and it's only the 3rd. It feels like Friday, and it's only Tuesday. It has been ridiculous. I knew we were in for a busy summer again with everything that was going on. And I knew something was going to happen similar to around the corner. I think we all thought it. I'm just knackered. And there's still, hours in the park to go and all that kind of stuff and other Wednesday stuff and kits if we even have them. At this rate in time, I reckon it's going to be skins versus shirts and we'll be the skins.
Well, I'm tired, you're tired, but I can say that the people that must be really emotionally exhausted are those people being shafted.
Yeah.
Those normal people who work at our football club at the minute that aren't being paid, Jake.
For the second time in 3 months.
It's just unacceptable. It's just been... And I don't even... It's like usually we talk here about, how's your week been, mate? It's Tuesday. We were at least trying to get midweek so we could talk about the little bit of a week. It's been all this crap that I did a little bit of a video on the other day, but I was like, look, it's stacking up so much. Let's just see what happens. And then I thought we'd potentially... I was really hoping we wouldn't have to do like a midweek pod, that it gets sorted out and all of this, the interview takeover talk could have waited until the end of the week.
Today went mental.
Yeah, it did.
Like at the time of recording it, Tuesday night at about nearly 10 o'clock. And it went mental today because everything that could have happened. And I think it pushed everything forward, everything now up in the air. But like you said, there's hard-working people who are at this club who are still sat at home not knowing what wages are going to go in and when they're going to go in, with an owner and an employee who've been going around, I'm going to say in a kind of sense of getting the begging cap out to try and get money to pay his staff, which should already be there.
Yeah. We're doing all this now, and I will say, I feel like we need to talk to you guys directly. We're not just going to throw that at 9:45 at night. But I reckon within the course of the next week, we might throw in a live podcast where we talk to you all directly, because it's been a while since we've done that together. I know you do your roundups, Jake, but I feel like it's probably needed, isn't it?
Yeah. To be fair, yesterday was actually kind of weird with everything that went on. I had a person who reached out to me and was a guest on the roundup, and he podcasted about mental health. And it was actually really good to have him on. I thought it was actually quite appropriate with everything that's going on at the minute. I think a lot of people could do with that little, just how's your mental health? Are you doing okay? And I've got my episode with him goes out Thursday or something. But with everything that's going on, it was actually quite interesting that of all days.
Is that for your other podcast?
No, this was on the roundup. This was somebody who reached out and asked me about mental health and how I deal with it and how I being online a lot and how you handle it, and just he's somebody who watched the channel, reached out because, as you know, I do a mental health checking score on my stream just to make sure everyone's okay. And I just felt yesterday was probably the right time to have that. If anyone was watching from the club or something, we get it. We understand how difficult this must be, and we hope it's sorted ASAP. But I can completely understand if you're turning around and going, hey, you coming to work today? No.
This is it. He's referring here, just for the people that might be listening and going, what's he on about? He's obviously referring he's still on track with the people who work at Wednesday in that regard, just to tie all that in there. But yeah, Jay, I think we'll just get into it, to be honest, because it's late night. So let's start with this. This is from the Star. Sheffield Wednesday respond to EFL charge over unpaid wages delay as Desmond Chansiri sends message. Sheffield Wednesday respond to the same thing. Sorry, that's the subheader. Desmond Chansiri, the under fire chairman of Sheffield Wednesday, has sent a sincere apology to everyone connected with the club after both he and the Owls were charged by the EFL over their latest wage payment debacle. As we reported earlier, many Owls players, coaches and club staff remain either unpaid or only partially paid for the month of May. Many of the club's non-paying employees were paid just £700 of their expected salary last month, with an, quote, emergency fund in place for those facing immediate financial hardship due to the issue. On Monday night, after a letter was sent out across the club apologising for the continued delay, confirming that the issue, quote, is yet to be resolved and that the payments would be made, quote, as soon as funds are received, end quote. I also want to sidetrack from that there. That's because they missed payday, and then a few days after payday, they got 700 quid, which still wasn't the full amount, just for some wider context for people who might not be following as closely. Back to the article. Then on Tuesday, with the prospect of a 3-window transfer restriction being imposed on the club, the EFL confirmed that Wednesday had been charged with, quote, multiple breaches of EFL regulations relating to payment obligations, end quote. Chansiri has also been charged personally, quote, with causing the club to be in breach of EFL regulations despite his commitment to fund the cash requirements of the club, end quote. Both Wednesday and Chansiri have 14 days to respond formally to the charges, and the Owls released a statement on Tuesday evening. Quote, Sheffield Wednesday acknowledged the statement issued by... Pardon? If you can call it a statement. Yeah. Yeah, because it reads as follows. Sheffield Wednesday acknowledged the statement issued by the EFL on Tuesday afternoon. The club continue to seek a resolution regarding outstanding salaries for the month of May at the earliest possible opportunity. Mr. Chansiri sincerely apologises to all players, coaches and staff affected and everyone connected with the club. We will make no further comment at this time.
For people who are audio listeners, James probably haven't seen me this, I would say, angry in a while.
Having said that, Jake, we can't see each other and I can just feel it.
Yeah.
Because we're actually just on a call right now. Yeah, we're not even on video.
The statement, there's certain things that I want to say and I'm not going to say it, but the apology doesn't mean anything. It doesn't hold any water. You cannot have that as an apology. It doesn't work for me. And you're the owner of the club. So if someone has a business, your number one thing is pay your bills and pay your people on time. You haven't done that. What really annoys me is that the club get charged in this when it's not the club's fault. It's the owner. It's the owner who's in trouble, not the club.
And we'd be lucky to escape with just a 3-window transfer ban.
Oh, it could quite easily be free transfer ban, point deduction, and pretty much nail a relegation season straight from the off.
Yep. That's what could happen. I think a lot of people are obviously talking about the 3-window transfer ban because that's the most likely outcome. But if they decide to...
The Star did say we could get away with just having a transfer fee ban, depending on when...
No, that's what I mean. Yeah, no, that's what we had before, remember?
Yeah.
Because this happened... I think what's interesting to say that I think a lot of people might have forgot, this happened before to Wednesday on the quiet.
Yeah. It did,
because Darren Moore it was around the Darren Moore time and a bit before that, there was windows where we just didn't, you'll notice 3 transfer windows where we didn't do a single fee, not a single loan fee, nothing.
No. Well,
and then it later came out.
The Joe Byers deal was such a dodgy deal in all ends up. Because we didn't pay anything, but we still had a 20% on him.
There was a lot that went on. Yeah. Allegedly, obviously. I can't remember the exact report, so I'm going to say allegedly because I don't put anything past this man at the minute. But it's a case of it's got precedent to happen at this club. He's done it multiple times. The last time was a couple of months ago, and I just can't stress enough how much I feel for the employees
it
of the club.
It was twice in a season. It's technically twice in a season because the HMRC thing as well. Remember, November, we didn't pay HMRC. There's a cash flow issue here. And anybody would be looking for some sort of money to come in. And what doesn't make things help is that we're currently having all these fancy new pictures done in and stuff like that. And I know that probably gets agreed ahead of time before it's all done. But
they're probably crapping themselves, by the way.
Oh, can you imagine? Can you imagine first game of the season, home game, and it's just a beach?
Yeah, because the contractors are like, hang on, are we actually going to get paid here? That's the thing, Jake. Like they've probably put he's probably put a bit of a lump sum or something down there, but what?
It all depends.
He's probably not paying for it all in one.
It all depends. Thing is, when did he pay for it? When was it ordered? If it was done ahead of time, he might have had the money to go, here, you cash, done. But there is that kind of thing where you go, it makes you wonder how long did Danny know this was coming? Because he mentioned at the end of the season, you're going to have a relegation battle. 100% said there's a relegation battle. Did he already know something or was already thinking it's happened once, it can happen again?
Yeah, I don't like there's also talks that Barry might not sign. I know that's just a rumor at the minute that's starting to pick up some traction. But if for that to happen, right, for that to even be a question means we could be really in trouble there. Because actually, I'd understand it in Barry's case because he's probably getting his last contract at a football club.
If I'm Barry Bannon, considering if you want to do a bit of like history, your granddad played at Wrexham. Go to Wrexham.
Oh God, I get that.
I wouldn't want it because kind of thing, but the whole history thing.
I want Barry Bannon to. This is the sad thing. We could lose a player who has run through everything for us
and not get a proper
because of our chairman's mismanagement, and he would go into that that Disney style side. I've been watching the latest documentary; it's very, very funny. But like, he would run that side. Yeah, and his mate. Oh, he's not. His mate's just left. Actually,
his mate's just left. Stephen Fletcher just left. I think for me, everything at the minute with everything that's going on, the worst part is not as a fan, but more as for the families and the people who work there. For me, they have got the biggest uncertainty going at the minute. We as fans have got the uncertainty, but there are going to be people there who are going to be in arrears. In bills, and that's going to affect.
And do you know they say we've got these financial supports in place, these hardship funds, emergency funding, whatever, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Can you imagine having to go sort of like not cap in hand as such, but pretty much because you can't afford to pay your bills? Oh, please pay me what I'm actually owed.
Yeah.
Because I can't afford it. Like let's be honest, Jake. My employer didn't pay me for a month. And I'd had a necessarily hard month, I'd be in trouble.
Yeah.
I'd be taking out lines of credit.
Yeah.
There's people that are going to have to do that. And if they're not, they might have already had to do that in this situation because of this bloody club.
It's already
happened. They might be really in trouble.
Yeah.
Because this is what I thought about this the other day, right? Say you've got your mortgage, your bills, everything's coming out. You're living paycheck to paycheck. You've got a family. You're literally probably, you're either living to the wire, you're living slightly overdrawn or all of that sort of stuff. You don't get paid and there's like a few days delay last time, but all your bills are due to come out. You go, do you know what? I'll just have to whack it on the credit card. And then 2 months later, it happens again while you're still paying all of that off and sorting it out.
Well, what happens if you're one of the people who are not got good credit to start with and you're like,
that's a good point.
I'll have to sell the telly now. I'll have to sell the PlayStation.
But it's also a case of like, I just can't believe that he comes out.
It shouldn't be happening.
It shouldn't. He comes out last time and says, oh, this was this, it wasn't, it was, I think the word shame was used and things like that. But this time he's just seemed so disinterested. Like,
You know what?
it's not, it's,
the
it's
biggest
done.
hilariousness, and it's not hilarious really, but it's like, do you know what today is? At time of recording, it's Chansiri's birthday.
I did know that actually because I saw it on Twitter literally an hour ago, but I didn't know that going into this. But
It's his birthday.
Lopez
today.
having a nice party while everyone else struggles to get paid.
Yeah. And the thing is, I think the bit that really annoyed me, because when it happened in March,
Mhm.
he did say to the Star, I can't guarantee this won't happen again. You should be
Which is
guaranteeing.
unacceptable. That's the point where he goes, for me, and I said it at the time actually, that's the point he goes, I can't guarantee it's not gonna happen again, which means I'm no longer suitable to run this football club, which means I'm gonna seek
Help.
buyers of this football club to come in.
Yeah.
That's what should have happened there.
100%.
And it didn't. And I don't
He had
think
the
it's gonna happen.
nerve to turn down bids.
And we're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
If you are watching this as a clip, make sure you do watch the full podcast or watch the other clip that will be out talking about all of that takeover talk. But Jake, on the payments, we're going to have to watch this one, how it develops. And I'm sure we'll go live in a few days with probably sanctions.
Yep. Well, remember, we've got 14 days.
That's true. This could drag on even more, couldn't it?
2 weeks before we can actually, they've got to respond to both charges, the club and DC. They've got 2 weeks to respond to it. But what does 2 weeks bring us up to in terms of date? Hang on. Oh, brilliant.
18th.
So 18th, that brings you to the 18th. We're meant to be back in pre-season training on the 28th.
Yeah, but here's the thing as well. Just because we have got 2 weeks to respond to it doesn't mean we're not going to be sanctioned if we respond to it in those 2 weeks. We've passed the deadline to not be sanctioned now.
Yeah.
So that's coming.
What got me last month, I felt like such a, I can't say it because I don't want to.
You don't want to give me editing at this time of night. Thank you.
No, I don't. But I felt like such a, doing a show going, Sheffield Wednesday pay people on time. And now sat here going, that doesn't sound stupid now.
Yeah.
Because I might have to do that again next month or the month after.
I know this sounds stupid, but there's a YouTube thing where if you have a video a certain length of time, you'll hit ads and stuff like that. So you'll make a few quid if it does well, right? When we're talking about the wages now, I can't even be bothered.
No.
Like if I'm making a video, I'm like, it's the last thing in my mind now. And even when we've had drama in the fan base before, there's usually enough to talk about to even not think about it. But now I'm just like, there's so much distaste around everything. It actually feels horrible reporting it and talking about it. But the voice needs to be there. The fans need to keep talking about it. The people who were very, very lenient with Chansiri, probably us a couple of years ago, Jake, to be quite honest. We tried to, we always said stones and glass houses and all that.
We always said as long as he was paying the bills and people were getting paid on time.
As long as he was doing what he was supposed to be doing.
Yes. Yeah. And then the more and more this has happened, the more and more it's been, there are still people, and I have seen at least 10 still defending. I don't know how that's possible. I'm sorry.
And I've also seen a lot of infighting in the fan groups. And
this is not the
digging
time.
out the supporters groups and things like that.
This is not the time to do it. We need to be
united on this front.
Yeah.
I don't like using the word united because the other side took it, but there we are.
the supporters trust they're doing an event at Wolseley Bridge. They're going to have it live streamed as well. Tickets are going fast. Please go if you can. And it's about being one of the community, but they're also raising funds for Sheffield Children's Hospital. But there's also the whole thing. Anyone on Housing the Park got announced this week. Fantastic. Love Housing Park. That is all done by the community lot. That is not done by the club. It's for the community lot. A lot of the charities and a lot of the groups get a lot of their funding from this. Do not do protests at a family event, please.
That's not going to happen, Jake. You know that's not going to happen. What I would suggest is if you are going to do it, do not overtake the event. Do it separate to the event. Do it around the club if you're going to do it.
I
Maybe.
think there've been some people have said something they're going to do it at the club or at the training ground. If that's the case, fine.
Yeah, don't
Keep it away from the park.
We just obviously peaceful protests and all that sort of stuff, but don't do it around the kids, right? Sort of thing. Like, I guess is what. But because I guess I'm trying to mitigate that. You know what? People are going to do what they're going to do, Jake.
I know.
But I can see it coming a mile off that I was in the park.
I don't want to have that awkward conversation with my little girl.
I think I'm swerving it this year, mate.
But
I'd be honest with your not profile, because it's not like we're massive, but you're very recognisable, Jake, in the Wednesday fan base. I'd swerve it if I were you.
I'm tempted to, but I'll see.
Right.
That.
Sorry, carry on.
I'll see. It just, you know what? Again, I said this so many times. We should be started going, we've finished. Well, who are we signing this year? Who are we going to get? At the minute, we're signing Billy down the road who played for the pub team because he can play centre back. He might have two dodgy knees, but it will do.
I'm just tired, mate. And this isn't going to make us feel any better. Like, there's a lot of nice words in it, but. So, it was leaked by somebody. We don't know who it was leaked by, but it was a leaked a whole day early and then Football Heaven had to release it. This is an interview from Football Heaven, Radio Sheffield, Rob Staten doing the interview. And it's an interview with John Flanagan of the consortium, one of the consortiums that is said to be interested in taking over Sheffield Wednesday. Now, this consortium has had 2 bids rejected by Chancery. It is the most active with some substance consortium that we have heard of. It's not the Walmart people. It's not the they are overseas, but it's not the
you know about Saudi?
Yeah, it's not those links. It's the one that was relating to Adam Shaw that a lot of people have written off in the past and likened it to the Wrexham project.
Also,
but I will.
The weekend was fun because Adam Shaw's in Sheffield.
Yeah, some people were saying he lived here and stuff like that. I don't know. Like, whatever. You know what? I'm trying to I'd never seen too much substance from this before. And I'm going to let you make your own mind up on it. So this interview was very interesting, actually. And I think, actually, even me, where there's some things that I'm questioning, like, okay, I'd like to know specific valuations and things like that.
Yeah.
It's a lot more positive than I've heard of in our club for a while. So it's well worth talking about. So the interview starts with, and I have transcribed this quite quickly, so it's not exact quotes, but it's the gist of what was said, just for people who are very specific about exact quotes. I'm sure the Star will put them out probably by the time you've seen this. But Rob starts saying there's been 2 offers and opens the interview with, what is the latest news? And then John replies with that the first approach was in April, and since then seen developments happen at the club, and they went back with an improved offer about a week and a half from the time of this podcast recording, which was also rejected. And interestingly, Jake, with no counter offer. So an improved offer, which if you are believing the rumours on the internet, was actually a £75 million offer, not confirmed, rejected with no counter offer. What are your feelings on that?
If it's 75 million, you're probably paying over the odds for us. We're not worth 75 million.
And he said no.
What? And he said no. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And he said no. And he said no. And it boggles your mind of what is he actually wanting? Like,
he's not wanting us to sell the club. Do you know what I'm angry at, Jake, in this? He's always said, if the fans don't want me here, I'll sell the
go.
club. If someone comes in with
Yeah.
with an offer and can take the club forward, I'll sell the club. And he's just not going to. He doesn't. He's lied. The reason I've got no respect for the man anymore is he's a liar.
Yeah.
Right? He has thrown his toys out the pram. He's dug his heels in the ground, gone, this is my club. I'm not selling it. And I'm angry about that now because you are actively damaging my club. We are a constant laughingstock. And it's affecting people's lives within the club. And I'm not talking about the footballers that are probably going to be all right, most of them. Let's be honest. I'm talking about the people who are on minimum wage and just above and are scraping by. And our chairman has the ego to dig his claws in and say, "You're my football club."
Yeah.
And not relinquish control when offers are coming in. But let's carry on with this because I could go too hard too soon, Jake. Rob asks about the market value of an offer. You know, is it how do you find that market value? And John says it's relevant to how the club is viewed as an asset. So it's what the offer was from them was a structured offer based on incentives and performance based on incentives. They said it was a fair offer with the upfront value, with the upfront money that was paid, with, quote, kickers on the back end should the club be able to achieve certain successes. So the one thing we don't know from that, Jake, say the £75 million is true, was that sort of 60 with £15 million worth of kickers? Was it 50 with, do you know what I mean? That sort of thing I assume 75 would have been the encompassing figure.
But we'll give you a kicker when we get, similar to what he had with Milan. Milan got a kicker if we got to Prem.
Yeah, well, if it was 75 with that on top, which is why I think if he's turned down 75 plus kickers, he's a moron.
Oh, God, yeah.
Right. But if it's like a 50 offer plus 25 with certain kickers, he's still a moron because I've had enough. But you can probably see why you might want a bit more upfront money. But still, I don't like the fact there's no counter there.
No.
Jake, it's just a shutdown offer.
It comes across of, this is my toy. This is my, and I say toy because it's starting to feel that way now. It's just starting to feel like it's his toy. And you can go on about how much you have invested into the club and everything. But as a business, you've invested a lot. What have you made out of that investment? Let's be brutally honest.
And what have we got from it? Our club's in a worse position than when he took over. And you know all those people who used to praise Milan? Look at the clubs that Milan's left in his wake now, Jake. We were just talking about this.
Yeah.
You and I. Like,
Pompey,
I liked
Leicester.
Milan at the time, and he talked a game, but all the clubs in Milan's wake turned to crap.
They're all on second or third ownership since he sold them.
I mean, didn't he have Leicester at one point? They
he
ended up doing all right.
He had Leicester, and then Leicester's owner got done in Thailand, and I think, if I remember correctly, was on house arrest. Don't quote me on that. But he got done for some sort of dodgy business. And then he had the Pompey situation.
I'm just tired, man. I'm tired of seeing this crap, especially when this person's talking about like putting money into the club. Look, we'll carry on, Jake. He says, Rob asks him about why he's interested in the club. This is a bit more, surface level. John speaks about the history and how we've built ours for over a century. He talks about the responsibility of the ownership of a club. And the ownership structure is the job to put people in the jobs in the right place to get the club's success. The fans are actually the true owners of the club. He reiterates that a few times in the interview. The club's history is second to none with others at this level, he reiterates. And it helps that someone like Adam Shaw, that's part of the consortium, has been a Wednesday fan all his life, so he's got a bit more roots there in terms of
I do agree having someone who's a fan helps. You have a little bit of a connection. I won't ever knock that. I think I personally don't think, from what I've heard from Adam Shaw, I don't think he's ever said anything disrespectful to Chancery or about Chancery publicly. I think he's actually been very respectful.
I think the thing that originally made us, not us, but the fan base think, he's a bit of one of them American sort of chancer businessmen, isn't he? Is because he was pivoting for the documentary angle straight away. You know what I mean? So it was almost as if he was jumping on the back of something. I think people thought that was a lot of the talk about, when he had cameras at the playoff game at Wembley and stuff like that. Because I remember it going back as far as that.
Yeah.
So this was an interesting question because Rob asks about the members of the consortium, and John responds that he says this will have to be a high-level answer because
I thought
currently...
it was an excellent answer, actually. I
thought it was all right, to be fair. Again, there'll be people I've got to say that go, well, that's a bit of a non-answer, and I do get that side of it.
But this is also how you speak when you're in business. If you've got a bit
the way he spoke...
It's very much of a case of, I'm not going to speak for others, but this is what I'm going to say.
Yeah, so he basically said that there's members of the consortium that do not want to be named publicly at this time because, unless things get moving, basically. But it's made up of a number of businessmen and current and former professional athletes, individuals that may own sports franchises at the moment and have seen levels of success. He says that they're the right people in the right places to grow the club at this time. So on the surface level, Jake, there, obviously there is the non-answer side of that, but there is also, I understand why some people wouldn't want to be named and things like that. If that is, a good wealth of experience in there with people and athletes, knowing how all that works, a fan in there and then the right business people, that's what you want in a consortium if there's the funds there. And then
it is. And it's one of these things where you look at everything you've heard from that answer kind of says everything we kind of wanted from DC when he first came in with his consortium. People forget DC came in with a consortium and we've not heard it since he bought the club. Are there other people pulling strings or now asking for things? I don't know. I'm not even going to speculate or go there. But the problem is, a consortium, I think, scares a lot of people. They want it to be one person, but a consortium, if you have the right people in, can be the best way of going. Because you have a bit of everything.
I think Chansiri came in on a bit of a faux consortium, though. It was more of a case of he came in with people. He came in with a structure because he knew nothing about football, but he was still sole owner. This consortium seems like it's going to be shared ownership.
Yeah,
that's the difference with this, I think. And the big question that we've been asking for a long time, and I want more specifics on this, and I don't just want rumors on Twitter, and we don't get them here, but it's an answer. Rob asks if they have the funds to push the club forward. Because, Jake, that's the side to me that I'm like, after the initial offer, have they got the money to put in the club after the fact, this consortium? That's the big thing for me.
I think
John replied,
a lot of the EFL stuff now changed, though. A lot of the EFL stuff, the checks are a lot more how much money you got to run for 4 years instead
That's
of
true.
Previously.
That's true. But there's levels to it as well, isn't there, Jake?
Yeah.
Are you going to have a Glazers system where you sap the money out of the club and let it run and do the bare minimum? Or do you have the money to invest to take the club to heights?
Yeah.
And John's answer about having the funds to push the club forward says there is the funds, we have the access to capital, and we have the means to apply it in a sufficient way. The way he talks about it there, people who can raise capital, who has got the capital and they've got capital invest, basically. Capital was mentioned a lot in that, Jake. So he's backing that they've got the funds.
Yep.
Do you know what? The reason I want Chansiri to agree with it, because even if they haven't got the funds, the EFL will find out now, based on what you've just said.
Yeah.
It's not a man who is like Chansiri, who has clearly not got the funds because he's not paying the funds. It's not his position anymore to dictate whether a consortium is good for Sheffield Wednesday.
Because you've proven you are not good for Sheffield Wednesday Football Club. You have proven that you are not the person who can send us forward at all. I'll be brutally honest.
If these are chances, right, the EFL should root them out this time. And I think a lot of Wednesday fans are at the state of do you know what? This isn't I think after this interview as well, it's going to put more pressure on it because it's more of a case of, right, okay, you're saying quite logical things here. Do you know what we've not heard for the past couple of years as Sheffield Wednesday fans?
The plan.
Logical things.
Well, it sounds like they have a little bit of a plan.
Yeah. And that's the thing we haven't had. And I know there'll be people there going, oh, you're just getting enticed by a plan. No, I'm getting enticed by change. Like, even if it's not these guys, just people. I want Chansiri to actually go through the process of selling the club and let the EFL do the proper checks with the new system, because I'm tired of it, Jake.
Yeah. I'm not, and to anyone who says that we're getting enticed by a plan, anyone gonna have that if you're given a lump meat sandwich every day and then for your lunch, and then one day somebody said, do you want this roast chicken dinner instead? You gonna go get the roast chicken dinner. Let's just be brutally honest. You're gonna go straight to that. I'm like, I'm having that.
Even if you found out like it's southern gravy and it's thin afterwards, like at least the chicken was good.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. That was a really weird analogy. It's all I could think of.
Yeah, well, I went with it, mate.
But the thing is, on the whole, when you listen to this person talking, you haven't heard the interview, please go listen to it because it's really interesting. You can tell he's a money man. He is not a chancer.
Somebody did on Twitter put up the, I don't know if it was him, so this is alleged, but it looked like it was his name and it was an American company, that he had a company going into admin. That happens. That was years ago, by the way, but like, if that was his, that happens, right? I think somebody was just trying to respond with it, part of the... I think people do try and do that, but I can't validate that.
It's not Twitter journalist, that's not on the real joke, but Twitter detectives looking for everything.
Yeah. It always is. So Rob then asks about the ambitions for the club. And John, he says, well, he talks about obviously the Premier League.
I think he mentioned Champions League.
But then he pulls it down.
Yeah. And
he says, that's not... Oh, stop overlapping me. I need you back on camera. We keep doing the overlap and talking over each other today. Bloody Gary Neville in it. But that's naive to say. He said the Premier League is naive to say it's round the corner. The goal is to build the foundation at the minute, bring the academy back to a level that's competitive, bring the ground back up to scratch, maybe even potentially look at a new stadium, improving the facilities. Everything we've wanted to hear, Jay. It's like they've listened to the podcast and gone, we'll do that.
It's like they just looked on the podcast, looked on other podcasts, looked on Twitter, looked on forums, looked on Facebook groups and go,
which they might have done, by the way.
Yeah.
But that's okay if they've got the funds to do it.
Yeah.
That's the way you want to do it. Listen to the people who have been talking about the club for a long time and just wanting the best for the club with no stake in it other than being fans, and do what they're asking.
You know what the really stupid part about this? They're talking about that and Chansiri can go, look, I'm giving them new pictures. What more do you want? Like, well, that needs to be done like every, 2 to 4 years, not 10. Like,
it needs to be done more often now, especially with the high level we're playing at, especially when you play the football we're playing. Like, our team was actively hampered at home because of the style of football we play.
Yep.
Wasn't suitable for our ground. And that's not acceptable.
Yeah.
We had a poor pitch. Rob asks if they've looked at any other models, the consortium, footballing structure models. And John says he's very interested in the English football pyramid. I swear every American says that because we have relegation. It was very Rescamex, this sort of section of the interview. But he said the good thing that he said in there here that I picked up on is he's very interested in models where clubs aren't just throwing money at every problem. Not everybody has a state behind them, is what he was referring to. And you can't just throw money at everything. You have to have the right people. You have to have the right ideas in place. And again, that's true. Yeah. That's where my question is of sort of, I want you to still have the funds to throw money at some problems, but not every problem, which is why I'd like to know a bit more about the financials. But again, I trust the I don't trust the EFL, but like I don't trust my owner at all anymore. And it's been 10 years, and I want something different. And I'm going to probably say that after every section. But
I think
do you think about anything he said about the models there, Jake?
I think the model were realistic. I think he was looking at it and was being realistic. We're not going to throw money at it. You have to build it. You have to build it before you can do anything. kind of thing. And I think that's more of what he's referring to, instead of doing like we're going to throw it all, like Man City, like whoever. And that was the example he used. He used Man City. It's not going to be that. Again, it is that whole thing of we're hearing things that we want to hear. So immediately we are like, this is what we want to hear. But one of the things that I've kind of said publicly, I would like whoever comes in, and because it's very American, so they probably like it actually. I want a town hall of some sort where it gives you an idea of what's happening. Not a fan forum, a town hall. Where you get to know what's going on, what is the next thing they are doing, what is the next part of the plan, and go, we didn't achieve this. This is why we didn't achieve it. This is what we're putting in place to achieve it next. I want more communication. The fact that we have spent since, Friday, we got a post about Alton Park, and this is nothing against the club. If you have not been paid, I would not be turning up either. But Chansiri not put anything out until today, by the looks of it. And that is poor. I want communication. I don't want to know the ins and outs of everything, but I want to know roughly where we're going.
Can't argue with that. I can't, honestly. It's just the basics, isn't it, Jake?
Yeah.
Like, Rob asks John about the commercial potential of Wednesday. And this is what we've been wanting to hear for a long time. He says it's huge. He's noticed from the outside that the potential hasn't even dipped its toe in the water, basically. The lack of sponsors specifically. He uses Wrexham as an example here. He probably should have done that more than once.
To be fair, he did say...
He did say it's probably not the best example, in fairness to him.
Yeah.
But he stresses the necessity of commercialisation in modern sport, stress the importance of a club being run good as a business, having the commercial avenues. And we've been saying for a long time, Jake, and Jack has been on this podcast screaming, where are our sponsorships?
Yeah.
Right? Our sponsors have been woeful, and we don't tap into that. Chansiri, clearly, like, he talks about being a great businessman. He doesn't drum up good sponsorships, Jake.
What gets me, after that playoff final and semi-final, we were shown everywhere, especially for that semi-final.
Yeah. The capitalisation on that,
exactly.
Right? You could have made so much money.
Yes. You could have had a sponsor on our shirts right now that was a long-term thing for, I don't know, another 2 seasons.
What did he do instead, Jake?
he sat with Darren Moore and went on a
He sacked Darren Moore!
He went on a statement tirade.
We were in such a good position. We'd had the comeback in history, man.
It was still talked about this year.
Yes.
Every year that comeback is going to get talked about. And every year we're going to be really happy. But then if we're currently in a similar situation, be really sad very quickly.
But it's just we had so much good press.
Yeah.
We don't have good press as Sheffield Wednesday. We just don't.
It's rare.
And then we had so much good press. And he didn't capitalise on it.
To be fair, we had good press back to back though, because we had the playoff and then we had Danny Will Miracle.
Yeah.
And I hope we tapped in on that.
And he hadn't even capitalised on it this season with it.
No.
Like, Rob asks, is it safe to assume that investment in the infrastructure is a plan at Wednesday? And John replies, it's one of the top things in our plan. If you can't entice individuals to come and play for you, he's getting at, which comes from your facilities and your staff. If you aren't premium in that regard, you won't affect that premium talent. And he's completely right. The facilities at Wednesday have not been up to scratch. We're actually invested in a few of those, but you'd need to see further investment over time in them, Jake. Yeah. So the fact that that consortium's got their eyes on where it needs to be invested in. And I think specifically, if they come in and they do stuff with the academy, that's going to be a big thing, don't you?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. This is stuff we've been dreaming on about for donkey years. And the thing is that they've obviously, the one thing that I took away from it, they have done their research. And then some.
Yes.
When you look at what they're saying. And I'm we have got a really good academy, and I'm staggered at how we get some of the academies in, considering how our playing surfaces are and how it is. That's got to be hats off to the academy team, the academy manager, the people in the back who managed to sell the club. But if they can up that, I'd love us to have a situation that Sunderland had just had where a lad who's 19 scores the winner and then gets a 10 million move to Brighton, and we pocket the 10 million.
Yep. And they've got bloody Jordan Henderson and stuff probably coming to sign for them this season. Yep. Just to have a bit of the success that we could get to just with any competent ownership now. Do you know what I really liked about, I guess I really liked for once? There was not a single comment on my last YouTube video defending Chansiri for the first time ever.
See, I've got one bloke still defending.
You had one very odd bloke, yeah.
Oh.
I forgot. I didn't like anything about the situation, but seeing everybody, because usually no matter what you say, there's something. There wasn't one on my comment section that time.
Yeah.
You do post on Facebook though and advertise on Facebook, which is where I think you went wrong.
Yeah, true.
So, a big thing that's been a topic is ticket prices. And Rob asks, are ticket prices something you will look at if you were to take over at Sheffield Wednesday? And John says, now the fan experience and ticket prices go hand in hand. An individual has no problem paying for tickets if the experience is there. He's not and he talks about the good product there. He's not saying it's not a good product currently, but there's a reason you pay more to go and see clubs like Arsenal. He also sees the value in merchandise, and if fans can come and they've got good facilities for food, and everything's clean, they're a lot more likely to enjoy the experience. So, Jake, Sheffield Wednesday, I've been playing Premier League prices for League One football recently. This guy has not dodged the fact that prices won't be high, but he has said that there will be an experience to go with it. How much do you take that with a grain of salt, but also how much do you think that could be moved about there?
It's very easy with the way our situation been to say what he said and make it sound good. The running joke's always been, make sure there's hot water on the cot for the ladies. That's been the running joke for God knows how long. But he's obviously seen something in the situation with what Wednesday are paying and what the quality they're paying for. I wonder if there's been a thing where they've gone and done some undercover going, how much do you just pay for that? How much do you pay for that?
No, it's not even that. You just have to look at the season tickets as well, Jake, though, I think.
No, but
the match day tickets.
Comment about tickets, he said about if you go for, he did say hot dog, or you go for a beer or pen something in the club shop. For things like that, you've got to have gone and had a look around.
Counter to that, Jake. They might have done. I'm fully validating that. But you could just read the notes from the fans' forums.
True. Yeah, you could.
Because they're in there.
True. But as long as they realise it can sound really bad, but if they realise what the living wage is in Sheffield and make it so it's appropriate for what it is in Sheffield, and then if we did go up and we're paying Premier League prices and it wasn't stupid or not something where it's very hard to say, because I think our prices doesn't represent our area. That's the issue.
They don't represent the standard we've had either.
No.
Do you know what I think is quite clever, Jake, here, from a business perspective? This is quite a long-term answer. He has not said that they're going to come in and lower prices.
No.
Have you noticed that? They probably would when they first came in. But if he said that, there'd be an expectation that they'd always keep prices lower than Chansiri had them. Now this puts them in a really good position to come in, put prices reasonable for their first, few years or whatever it is, And then the prices could be like this in the Prem. And I'm telling you, Wednesday fans, even though it'll still be high, we would pay what we're currently paying for Premier League football. And actually, Premier League football with good facilities that have been invested in, I could stomach what the prices are currently a little bit more. It'd still be quite egregious. But at the minute, we're having that championship level lower off performances. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's actually quite clever in the interview. It's something I noticed when I was listening. There's no overarching promises. There's no we're going to do this. It's like, this is what we could do. This is what we might be able to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it moves on to a big question that we've been wondering for a long, long time. Rob says, would it be important for you to implement a full staff setup at Sheffield Wednesday, whether that be a sporting director, COO, or CEO? And John responds to this by saying, without a question. They've actually already spoke to a few preliminary options if they did have the potential of taking over. So they've already been looking in that regard. You have to have, and he stresses, you have to have individuals in the right places for success. So going off what we said for a long time, Jake, music to our ears, surely.
Yeah, he's not wrong. You've got to put the right people in charge in the right areas. And if that's having a sporting director, so the manager can just get on with coaching or whatever way, you're not having to go, I'm looking for this. They have a short list. They have a meeting done. That's your recruitment meeting done. Then you go and have a meeting about, hey, we're going to go meet your ground staff and do X, Y, and Z. I think that's a really smart way of putting things in place. And it's the way sport in general, not just football, sport in general is just going. And it's very rare these days that it's just one person as the head coach or manager doing everything. There's about a team of 5 or 6 people behind them. And at Wednesday, you've probably got a team of probably 2 at the most. And that's only because one of them was to help book a hotel because Danny was doing it at one point.
And Danny leaving in this situation with a sporting director wouldn't be the biggest disaster in the world, because you go, right, well, the sporting director is staying in place. We've got a style of football. We've been signing players to that philosophy. Danny's out of a job for a while. We're going to find a new manager, but we can sign players based on the way we want to play, and we're going to bring in a head coach to play players in that format.
If you want a prime example, look at Norwich. Norwich has literally got rid of their manager who they said they were going to set forward and have it as this is the person who's going to go for 3 years. Sacked him because they don't think it's right. They're going to got Liam Manning in to fix the style of football with their sporting director.
Yeah. And we don't know the levels of success there, but you look at clubs that do it. You know, there are examples of clubs. Pretty much club in the Premier League now have started to establish an identity and the way they want to play. They talk about that a lot more.
Our identity changes every time we get someone in.
Yes, and that can't keep happening with the reason clubs are changing their formatting with that, Jake, is you can't just keep doing that because it costs too much in modern football. It just costs too much. At the higher levels, that costs too much. What I will say is I think you need contingencies in that you have a set of players that you can bring in like a Big Sam every so often just to reset for a year and take teams by surprise. But you don't let that manager then come in and bring all the players in. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're not doing so well with your style of football. You sack your manager halfway through the season. You bring in a man manager to see out the rest of the season and keep you up. That can happen, and that can work because you change your style and you take teams by surprise. You know, you go more physical, you go more direct. You're not playing whatever your style was, and you change what wasn't working. But then you go back to your vision with a manager who sets it up a little bit more efficiently, gets more out of the players, still plays an attacking style or whatever you want to play, you know? And I think that's the model you need to look at in higher level football now, championship upwards, because it's the cost efficient way.
Yeah.
Rob asks him, have you contacted the manager, Danny Rule? Which I wasn't expecting this question, Jake. But then John says, not personally, but he's on number one target. He's shown he's the right manager. Whatever his current reasoning is for his current situation, he's not aware of. But we, the consortium, do believe he's the right man. It's going to come down to building that hierarchy, as we were just talking about, Jake, with the sporting director, etc. It's going to come down to putting the right people in the place. And they think Danny's the right man to be the manager for them, so he's their number one option.
And he has said in the past, Danny, that is something he wants.
Yeah. What are your thoughts there, then?
I like it. Because I'm really bad. I think the problem with Danny at the minute with everything, I don't know if fans would just want a clean break completely from Chansiri and Danny. I'm undecided. I'll be brutally honest. I'm undecided on it because
Chansiri is the main problem for me. I'm not happy with Danny. I could see it, but I think basically the best case scenario probably here is Danny comes in on very thin ice. Yeah. So a consortium takes over. Danny's then on very thin ice.
It's not thin ice. You have it as it's a clean slate. Talk to us. Tell us what you want. Yeah. Tell us what you need. Let's open a dialogue before we do. I wouldn't even start it with let's start on thin ice. I'd start it as a right.
Well, you wouldn't say that to the manager, Jake. You wouldn't be like, you're on thin ice, you.
Yeah, but you wouldn't still have that feeling. You will want it to be, it's a new slate, it's a new era. I get what you're saying with what he said. As an ownership, you'll be worried if he's going to do that again. But I think you give him 6 months, and then if it feels like he's getting twitchy, if you're a confident ownership, you go, hey, Danny, this ain't working out. Sorry, mate. See ya.
I'm more concerned we sort the ownership out before the manager. Exactly. So that's all I'll say on that for now. But I am really not happy with the way he's conducted himself, Danny. But I can understand in these situations. I just do feel like he's the man steering the ship for a lot of the people. And there's people in the club that don't have that luxury to just jump ship. And Danny's trying, and I get it. So people go, oh, why would you want to work under there? But look at all the other people who have to work under this situation at the club. So for me, I'm more of a
I get it.
Stick together against the ownership.
I think a lot of people kind of would. But
yeah. No, a lot of people would. I don't think he's immune from criticism.
Oh, he's not. He's definitely not. But I think the way you go about it, it will be a clean slate. But you'd have it. It will be a warning sign. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Rob then asks if there was a breakthrough in conversations with Chansiri, how quick can a move happen? So how quick can the process move? John says it's a bit of a loaded question, that. And I think he kind of actually thinks he wants specifics, Rob, here. That's why he says it's a loaded question the more he talks about this, because he says it's not a fast process. We can move fast. Even if he came back and we had an agreement, there would be a period of due diligence, which is why we approached back in April to give ourselves the most time. It's currently a precarious situation. Can't give you an exact timing. He talks about there's details to work out, sort of thing. But I think that's because he feels like he's been asked to give a specific timeline there. We know about due diligence, regulations, things like that. But they say they can move, which means I think what he needed to say here, and I think what he's trying to get at, and hopefully he's trying to get at, is they're ready to come in as soon as they're allowed to come in. You know, that's all he needs to say.
It was the first bit of the interview where you felt you could felt like he felt attacked, but not attacked. I think he was trying to judge. How do you mean? How are you meaning the question? I just think
he didn't understand the question properly.
Yeah.
It was one of those things where
the fact that they could probably move quite quickly in terms of once they're in to get what they want and sort things, it's good, but they will want to do it in a way where it works well and they're not rushing it where they make mistakes.
It's going to express doubt that I'm telling you now, that section is going to express doubt in some fans' minds. What they needed to say there, if it's true, is we're ready to move. We just have to wait on the actual regulations, but we're ready to move as soon as we get the offer. That would have been the answer. And I think that's possibly the truth. but
Yeah.
he didn't say it. So it's yet to be known. And then Rob follows up with, are you confident you can reach an agreement? And then Johns kind of gives his diplomatic answer. He will say that Mr. Chansiri owns this team and it's his club to sell at whatever price he wants. He's quite respectful to Chansiri in that regard. He says he doesn't know if they'll be able to reach an agreement. He'd love to think they can get an agreement in place. He feels that their consortium would be extremely beneficial for the club, but it's been quite a unique situation, and talks a little bit more about the process. He says that they approached initially Chansiri with an email, got a very quick response, which was a no, but then they had following conversations. They ended up having a meeting with Chansiri, and then it was clear that they clearly weren't lining up on valuation. And he followed this with saying, based on recent developments with that club, the value of the club definitely isn't going up. So you can't. So I think you can read between the lines there that their offer's probably not going to get much higher because Chansiri is devaluing the club.
Here's the thing.
And putting us in a situation.
I don't know. I think this interview was done before the EFL charges got done. Now, if that's the case, yes, it does have the effect that DC loses all his bargaining chips and what he wants for it because he's not in that position. The charges there now. It makes it, like you said, it devalues it again. I think at the time of recording this, I have a funny feeling that this was talking about players and staff not being paid and no charges were there. Now,
yeah, that's what I think.
Now the charges are there. Is there more of a case of do they go back in and go, right, you've got charges, you've got this, we want the club, you obviously can't pay people on time. The fact that on Monday, Chansiri was ringing apparently old sponsorships, allegedly, trying to get money to pay for the wages. If you're doing that one, there's an entire section on a stand that's had pesto for years. Find them if they're in business and we'll take all the money that we've given them for sponsorship. Fine.
Yeah, I saw that tweet as well.
But
I've just seen it.
I've
just seen another quite funny tweet, Jake.
Go
Somebody's just literally liking the situation with Chansiri. This is a Tom on Twitter says, Chansiri just thinks he can flog his old car that's failed its MOT for double value but just because he's put a load of petrol in it over the years. And that is an analogy of this club. He just thinks because he's put the money into it. I always think it's because it's because you put a load of money into your house, right? You replace things that have broken. It doesn't mean your house is worth more because you've not redeveloped it. You've just fixed the things that broke while you had it.
I've just realised there's a really good meme of Chansiri being Del Boy. And that's a prime example of Chansiri. He's
just completely gone. He's lost it.
Yeah.
He's lost it. Rob finishes the interview saying, what kind of relationship do you want to have with the fans? And John's response is a good one. The real owners of the club are fans, he reiterates again. The owners are just a conduit between making sure the club is running, between the fans and making sure the club is run the correct way. He states that there's no egos here regarding the consortium. You can see the way the supporters have currently voiced against what's currently going on relating to what's happened with Chansiri. And when he's talking about how you make things better in that regard and how you make sure you don't get off on that foot, he says it starts with communication, transparency, and a plan to bring the club forward. Yep. You hire the right people. And then he stresses, I must say, it's not me, it's not Adam Shaw running the club. It's the people that we put in that position running the club. And that is such a strong end to this interview because that's exactly what needs to happen, Jake.
Yep. It needs to have someone who's, it's not egos, it's not everything for the club.
Yeah.
And I think originally there was that from DC. It was for the club. But the moment things started going wrong, that's where it came. Does that make sense?
I completely get it. You see, I think Chansiri came in wide-eyed going, oh, I'm going to take this club to heights. It's going to be my toy. And you know what? Chansiri's had a good heart over the years. He's turned bitter. He's turned against the fans. None of us want him here anymore. He's doing everything he can on the way out. It's not even the way out. I genuinely don't think he'll let this club go unless the EFL force him.
Yeah, I'm even with that, Reading got given 30 days to 90 days to find something. I think some of it was sorted with the EFL. The only saving grace I have is that there are people interested in buying my football club. Yeah. There are people who want to buy the football club who sound like they're the plan in place of some sort to go, hey, this is what we want to do. Again, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens at this supported trust event, because apparently there's going to be some stuff talked there. I have the situation where, I'll be brutally honest, next season terrifies me.
Yeah.
I'm
not even I'm not even looking that far, Jake. I'm literally just going day to day at this club at the minute.
Oh,
and that's mental.
I get that completely. Like,
no. I'm not saying like it's a thing we shouldn't even be looking towards next season. We should be, Jake. We should be going, when's pre-season back? What players are we signing? All of that. We're not doing any of that.
What kit we doing? It's like, it's really weird. Like, I've seen
you're never getting that kit, by the way, that you've paid for.
Yeah. What kit? I didn't pay for it.
Have you not?
No, I didn't do it. I didn't pay it on principle. I hadn't seen it.
Did you not? I swear you did.
No, I didn't buy it. I was debating it, and I then sat down and went, I've already spent God knows how much money on free kits this season. I'm not buying next year's when I've not seen it.
Fair enough.
It's like buying a house which you haven't seen at auction, then you get it, you think you've got a really good deal, and then you walk in and the top floor just in your kitchen. I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. I hope.
Mm-hmm.
I really hope. I hope someone can.
No, I hope it doesn't get worse before it gets better, Jake. If I'm honest, I know what you're saying there, but I hope people just come in and he actually just goes, you know what, I've had enough.
But the problem is, I don't.
Or his family literally sit him down in an intervention and sort him out. Right?
I think the only way
and sell the club.
I think the only way it could get done is if the family had to go to a court and say, we are taking the club off him, we are selling said club, therefore it's going. Kind of thing.
Which I don't think they can do because it's all in his name. It's not like it's actually under their.
No.
Yeah, it's under his name specifically,
and the thing is,
even though the family have funded it, sort of thing.
The debt is in his name. This is the stupid thing. The debt of the club is not in the club name. If you look at all paperwork, it says it's all in Chansiri's name.
Which is not a stupid thing, actually. That's going to be a club saving grace, I think.
That's
why he can't let go of it as well, Jake, because the creditors will come after him.
Yes, that is it. That is one of the main reasons why he can't let it go without it being silly money. Because no one knows how much money he's in the hole for personally. I think,
and he's really in trouble with this. Like, our clubs are really seriously in trouble as well. But personally, this is going so badly.
Yeah.
Like, he should have snapped the hand off at 75 million if it was 75 million, Jake.
The only thing I can be thinking, and it's the only thing I can think, is if that 100 million offer that apparently went in was on the table and he'd taken that.
Was that from the Walmart people?
Yes.
Yeah, the one we talked about before.
That's the only thing I can think.
Yeah. But we'd have heard something, surely. Because I actually think if I'm looking at what's probably happened, Jake, if we're looking at funding here, he's probably been able to go to his family a little bit more in the past when he's had issues with cash flow, maybe. And do you think his family come in at the end of the season? They've now cut him off So we have seen twice in quick succession that he can't fund it on his own without cash reserves potentially. Because he does have businesses himself, so he gets the money in and he can pay for certain things. However,
I don't think they've got the money.
I don't think he has enough to do it regularly.
No, I don't think he has enough to do it regularly. I think when the people came at the end of that game at the season, they saw what everything was. I think they might have. It does feel like the family got sick and tired of like, oh, I'm a little bit short this month. Can you spot me this and I'll pay you mid-month when I get paid this? It does feel like someone who's...
That's pure speculation, but it does feel like that. The way the family were there at the end of the season and this happens twice in quick succession, it feels like that could be it.
It does feel that way, doesn't it?
Yes.
And
that's pure speculation, but that's just putting two and two together, right?
I love how both of them went that pure speculation at the same time.
Yeah. But Jake, I'm very tired, so I am going to wrap this up. Have you got anything to say before we end episode 221 of the Talking Wednesday podcast?
If you know anybody at the club, please just ask them how they are. And if they need to have a chat to you, sit down, listen, and be the friend they need. Or the person that'll just let them vent, cry, scream, whatever. At the moment, my thoughts are not with, it's going to sound really bad. I am with the players, but they should have enough in reserve to make sure they're okay. And I think the players will probably be thinking about the people who are around them, who they see on a day-to-day basis, who probably don't. So you know, I'd like to think that the players, I don't know anything, but I'd like to think as people, a couple of the players have already got on that, to be honest. Yeah. I kind of think they will have done.
Yeah, you would think that would happen, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you would think that would happen, but we've just got to wait and see. And I've been saying that for so long, the last couple of months. I've said it to you multiple times when we've spoken privately. And the problem is, the only thing we can say is let's wait and see, because we don't know.
We don't. But we are going to be here. We've probably got a lot of live Talking Wednesday podcasts coming up, Jake, because developing stories, they happen. There's no normal schedule over the summer. This summer, we wanted to do a normal schedule, but with all the nonsense going on, we will just guarantee you one episode of the Talking Wednesday podcast, as we always try and do every single week. It will not hit its normal publishing schedule, just so you are aware, but it will be there. And yes, please do. If for say, for example, the day after it's gone up on video feeds, it's not gone on audio feeds, please do tweet us like some of you have been doing. That's usually because I'm away from my main machine and I haven't done it and I forget, which is really unprofessional. But when we're doing a podcast on the move, it's very difficult for me to remember to put it on audio feeds because I have to do something completely separate. But yes, Jake, thank you for joining me this evening.
No way, mate.
And us not having to do it at stupid o'clock tomorrow morning. You all take care. Our thoughts are with everybody affected by this nonsense at Sheffield Wednesday Football Club. However, hopefully we'll turn a corner soon. But for now, guys, take care, and we'll see you in the next episode of Talking Wednesday.
See ya.